Transformation. In one moment, I went from being a beggar to becoming co-owner and manager of a serious company dealing with the installation of new arc lamps in the streets. I thought it was ironic that I rented an office next to Edison's company. We had received many orders from all over America for our electrical products. Our business quickly became a success. I created models of generators, transformers, and all the necessary equipment for the operation of two-phase alternating current devices. I believed that alternating current was the future, although to others at that time my ideas seemed absurd. And finally, on the 1st of May 1888, I received 2 patents for my AC generator. The war of currents had begun. Mr. Westinghouse.
Mr. Tesla, I'm so happy to meet you at last. Let's get straight to business. You know the Edison power plants are reliable. However, here's what I need. I need a solution that allows me to transmit electricity over long distances to my power plants. So, you see, currently I am looking for a better engineering solution.
Well, I have some ideas here. Edison's direct current power plants dominated the nation's power needs. By 1887, almost 100 DC power stations were operating in America. Direct current has no frequency and doesn't change direction. DC generators can be connected much more easily and were more convenient for accumulating stations, but the DC has one huge disadvantage. Because of power losses in the wires, it is extremely difficult and expensive to transmit its power over long distances. After carefully examining Edison's DC patent, the famous industrialist George Westinghouse came to the conclusion that my AC generators were much more effective. So he offered me $1 million for all the patents I already had, and promised to pay $1 for each horsepower produced by generators designed by me. So I became a consultant for Westinghouse. That day I gave my dear friend Brown a check for $500,000 for everything he did for me. A new era began in my life. Alternating current is perfect. It is so pure and beautiful. It has the unique ability to disinfect any kind of surface, including the human body, killing microbes without causing any harm to the body's tissues.
Is that dangerous?
Don't worry. You can touch it. Go ahead. There's no need to worry, young lady. I've passed 1,000,000 volts of current through my body, and you see, I am still very much alive. If the frequency is above 700 Hertz, the current simply flows over your body. Isn't it wonderful? Together with Westinghouse, we created the first stable working AC generator. Finally, Edison realized that his reign as the electricity king was coming to an end.
Sir, a letter for Mr. Tesla.
Edison immediately brought a lawsuit against us for infringement on his patents. But of course he lost, as all my inventions were authentic. It was after that he started to play dirty. At Edison's instigation, a new type of execution was adopted. The electric chair. And of course it used my alternating current. Poor Westinghouse objected and even hired a lawyer for Kemmler, was the first person in the world to be sentenced to death by electric chair. What a grisly way to die. Despite all Edison's attempts to discredit my inventions and tarnish my reputation, my alternating current became more and more widespread. Westinghouse and I were gaining ground in this war of the currents. But the sweeping success of AC played a cruel joke on my benefactor and supporter Westinghouse. One day his investors remembered about the agreement I had made with Westinghouse. He was obligated to pay me $1 for each horsepower generated by alternating current. By that time, there were so many AC generators, I would have received $12 million and been one of the richest men in the world. But the man who believed in me and in my alternating current would go bankrupt. So I tore up my contract with him. Westinghouse had to continue his fight for alternating current. That crazy Edison wouldn't leave us alone. He wanted to prove that our AC was worse than his DC so much that he filmed animals being brutally killed with alternating current and then showed these movies to the public.
Yes, I remember in 1903, that poor elephant, Topsy. He electrocuted her to death.
The soup is cold. And Edison lost anyway. In the end, you know what he did? He started producing his own AC power generators. And there have been no direct current stations built in 20 years. So, I won. $320 milliliters. Plus or minus 15. Average of 2 by
what are you doing?
circumference. Well, it's a strange thing. But I can't really enjoy my meal if I don't know the exact amount of food which I'm going to eat. As for Edison, I have never seen him again. Never. Even after he burned my laboratory.
You mean the fire on Fifth Avenue? Many speculated it could have been sabotage. Even at that time, people were asking which of your employees were bribed by Edison.
Do you know how it came to this? For 7 years, I worked in my laboratory studying magnetic fields and high-frequency currents. It was a productive period for me. As a result of my work, I received many patents, almost as many as Edison. As a result, the American Institute of Electrical Engineers invited me to lecture about my achievements in front of the most prominent electrical engineers of that time. I lit lamps simply by putting them in an alternating electromagnetic field. I showed how to transmit electricity without wires. I sent out lightning and used my hands to pass a current of 1,000,000 volts through my body. It was a huge success. I received a great ovation, and for the first time was called by my peers a man of the future. They offered me Faraday's chair, saying that since his death, no one else had been worthy to sit in it. Then they let me sip the whiskey from Faraday's cherished bottle. It was a great honor. Edison, of course, could not stand them recognizing me. On the 13th of March, 1895, there was a fire in my laboratory on South Fifth Avenue. All of my property was burned, as well as all the records for the last 10 years. As a result of the fire, I went completely bankrupt. Of course, Edison was not so stupid as to leave any evidence that he was behind the fire. But who else could have benefited from this? Within half a year, my business began to thrive again. Instead of starting from the beginning to rebuild what I had created, I restored everything from memory. Thanks to me, Westinghouse triumphed over Edison, winning a huge contract for the construction of a hydroelectric power plant at Niagara Falls. The newly formed company of Niagara Falls invested $100,000 in my research. With this money, I set up a great laboratory at 46 Houston Street, where I constructed a unique mechanical oscillator, which I used to do research on selective resonance. I could destroy the Brooklyn Bridge in a couple of minutes. That's what selective resonance means. It's possible to destroy any object you choose with a stationary, uniform vibration. The whole block of buildings was almost demolished.
I've read about an earthquake that occurred in New York in 1898. You're saying that you did it?
Or perhaps it was just a coincidence. Oh, what a wonderful place it was, my laboratory at 46 Houston Street. Time flew very fast there. I envy the pigeons. They do not need to play stupid human games. They just spread their wings and fly away whenever they want. Without any regret. I don't like people.
But I heard rumors about the elaborate parties which you used to organize.
Yes, I threw... I threw great feasts, which were attended by the most interesting people of the time. Brilliant, famous people. Kipling would read his poems to us. Mark Twain would make everyone laugh with his famous stories. Dvorak played piano. And then I would take them all to my laboratory. I showed various interesting experiments, and we talked about the future of science. Those evenings were unforgettable. I met most of these people thanks to my friendship with Robert Johnson, the chief editor of Century magazine, and his wife, Catherine. Catherine and I became great friends because we shared a great love of poetry. I never met a woman with such exquisite literary taste. Together, she and I even translated and published a collection of Serbian poetry. But the poetry we were most impressed by were the poems of Jovan Zmaj. Honor can't be bought with gold, for an honest man can't be sold, since he needs it like the sun. The